RT? Question more.
I don't think anybody knows how big the march will be. Every year it attracts more and more people because more and more people are dissatisfied with the corporate takeover of life. For me, the March Against Monsanto is really all about the genetic modification of food. And that is a great concern to me and many other people like me, because genetically modified food, as defined by the World Health Organization, is food that doesn't occur naturally. And it's not being tested, and it's not being monitored, and we don't know what it's doing in our bodies. But we do know what it's doing in our fields, in our environment. It's causing massive pesticide use, it's causing loss of biodiversity, it's causing super weeds, which are resistant to pesticides, which means farmers have to use more and more pesticides on their crops in order to try and keep weeds down. And so it's an environmental problem, it's a health problem, it's a social problem in terms of our connection to food culture. And a lot of people are really very angry about that. The WikiLeaks documents that came out a few years ago showed that the US government is in fact acting as a lobbyist for companies like Monsanto, trying to spread genetically modified foods into the European market and beyond. And we know from looking at documents about the European Food Safety Authority and the UK Parliament itself that a lot of so-called independent people actually have interests in biotech companies and are actually trying to push a biotech agenda whilst appearing to be neutral. The important thing to remember is that Monsanto is a figurehead. There are many, many biotech companies, Syngenta, Bayer, Dow, etc. And they're all pushing the same agenda. We don't know whether Europe will stay away from it. If Europe were a true democracy, if the UK were a true democracy, they would be paying attention to the wishes of the majority of people who have voted these politicians in, and they would say, no, we don't want GMOs on European soil. And they would be paying attention to the US experience, which is very instructive about what happens when a country adopts a GMO agriculture. And all those problems that I talked about before, the rise of pesticides, the problems with the health of livestock that are fed GMOs, the loss of consumer control and choice, and the potential health problems have all started to occur in America. And they will occur here, and they will occur faster if we do adopt GMO technology. There is a kind of buck passing that goes on. The government says it's up to the marketplace, it says it's up to the public, and the public really hopes that the government will do something about it. My faith is always in people. I think the more people who get involved, the more people who speak out, the more we have an informed and articulate citizenship, the harder it will be for companies like Monsanto and Dow and Syngenta and Bayer to peddle their toxic products here in Europe. The last few marches against Monsanto haven't had a great deal of coverage on mainstream media, but social media and online television has done a great job of covering them, which is why we know that more and more people are marching. Like any institution, any aging institution, the mainstream media has fallen into the habit of accepting sound bites from so-called experts. And what we know, because for instance institutions like the BBC have been challenged many times on this, is that often the experts they bring on, the so-called independent experts, are no such thing. We often see independent experts in genetic modification who are in fact patent holders. And when they say that something that they have a patent on is safe, you cannot trust that that is true. Social media is faster moving, it's newer, it's a little hipper, it's more questioning of what's going on at the moment, and I think that's where the gap is. What I really hope for tomorrow is that we have a really great crowd of people who come, who get informed, and then don't just go away and do nothing. What we need is for marches like this to energize people so that they continue to act throughout the year and keep pressure up on the biotech companies and keep it out of Europe.